A free AI model appeared on OpenRouter with a million token context window, video input, and no company name attached to it, which is weird. Nobody knows actually who built Ox Alpha, that's the name of the model for now. But the internet already decide that they know who built it. Hello, my name is Oscar Gallo, AI engineer and entrepreneur. And
Wozniak, a serial builder and a relentless executor. I come from the lens of execution, and I focus on what works and what doesn't. This is Human in the Loop, a weekly podcast where we go through this week's AI news and we tell you what actually matters, what changes how you build, how you buy, or how you operate. This week in the news, we got a pretty interesting story. It's almost like a mystery. I love mysteries. So, what happened? Ox Alpha appears as an anonymous million token model. Ox Alpha appeared on OpenRouter on August 20th as a free stealth preview from an anonymous third-party provider. OpenRouter describes it as a reasoning model for coding, long-running agent work, and production workloads, which is basically standard at this point. The published specifications are large. Ox Alpha accepts text, images, and video. So it's a multimodal model we talked about in the last episode. It has a 1,048,576 token context window, supports up to 131,072 output tokens, and can call tools. Awesome. The provider has not published its identity, architecture, parameters, training data, or any other official benchmark reports. Developers have guessed that the model comes from Z.AI, Xiaomi, Microsoft, or some other lab. None of those claims are confirmed, and none of the labs have confirmed the claims. A widely shared community test says Ox Alpha solved 8 of 10 coding tasks, but the comparison uses a small sample and different scoring methods for the reference models. It does not prove that Ox Alpha beats Claude, GPT, GLM, or Grok. OpenRouter says the anonymous provider retains prompts and completions, though it does not use them for training. That makes the free preview unsuitable for private code, credentials, customer data, or confidential documents. This is a pretty big story. Who's going to release a model that takes the world by storm and not take credit for it? I'm sure some of these labs are getting calls from reporters saying, "Is this yours?" And they're calling their team saying, "Is this ours?" I want to say it's ours, but they're saying, "No, it's not ours. Don't say it's ours." But it's interesting. You drop something for free, you take no credit, and you use it just to see how people. I think I want to get your take on it, Oscar, but I think after this we could both make predictions on who we think this is, the owner of this.
Yeah, this is really interesting because we are in this moment now where, for example, we know that this is a flash model just because of the speed that is dropping tokens. You can imagine, oh, maybe this is C.AI, a new flash version of 5.3. But we need to remember that just Kimi, they were extremely constrained by the amount of tokens they could create. And the reality is that the amount of tokens OpenRouter is giving away, it's too much. It's too much. I'm not sure if the Chinese have that capability when literally 2 weeks ago they were barely able to keep with their offer without any new model, just the ones that they have now. It is very weird. Then we have OpenAI, and we have...
It's definitely not Anthropic. Anthropic went down 6 times this week.
Yes.
And maybe that's why.
Yeah, because
that's why they went down.
If we're thinking that, oh, this is a lightweight model, then Haiku hasn't had an update in long. But again, Opus 5 sucks much that why are you even trying to launch a lighter version of whatever Opus is? Fable is great, but Opus is a complete disaster. I hate it with all my heart. I had such bad experiences these last 2 weeks that I'm thinking to completely cancel the cloud subscription. And then on the OpenAI side, I feel that they are not there. I don't think it's OpenAI because 5.6 already has their own Flash version, which is the Luna model. Better version of Luna sounds probably impossible in my head. I have contenders in my head, and this is a very interesting model because it's pretty decent. Of course, the main problem is now we compare everything to Fable. It's not Fable, okay? It's not, okay? But it looks pretty decent, and depending on the pricing, it can make sense for businesses to use it, depending on the case. If I had to guess who is the business behind this, and this is going to be me eating my own words, I think it's Google. I think it's Google, and I know that they suck. The last models are bad. They're bad that when they launched Gemini 3.7 Flash, I didn't even try it. Because I don't really care. This is how bad they have become far that I just don't care. To the point that I even deleted anti-gravity. There's no point for me to use anti-gravity at all. Not even to look at files. The more I think about it, my biggest guess about why I think it's Google, it's two reasons. One, they are probably the only business now that they can offer this much computing for free. The only one. OpenAI cannot do it. Anthropic cannot do it. The Chinese cannot do it. Maybe there's another one that can, but if I'm betting, I think for sure this is Google. At the same time, this can be Google coming back to the big boys table, being able to compete properly finally after many models that they suck. And there was one thing that made me think that maybe that was the case. One of them was, well, the second thing why I think it's Google is because two members from the Google team posted something. One of them posted, "Now we make only Flash models." He posted on X, and I was okay. That's interesting because we know that's a Flash model. Right. Maybe that he's making fun that they have launched so many Flash models and they have 0 Pro models. The last Pro model is from a year ago, I think. That's insane. In a type of world where everything changed every month.
Might as well have been last generation.
Waiting yeah, not even last generation. It's actually 2 generations behind. This is how bad it is because the last Pro version I think is at 3.1. They're in 3.7.
Right.
That's how far behind they are on this process. I think it's Google. If I had to guess, I think it's Google. And I remember from the Google team, he posted, "What if Ox Alpha is the friends we make along the way?"
Wait, somebody said that?
And I was, what? Yes. What drugs are you into? That makes no sense.
You said somebody from Google posted that?
Yeah. But again, it's because everybody's freaking out. They are trying in many ways. Some people were actually comparing that. I think the tokenizer is actually very close to the one from C.AI.
The GLM one?
For example.
It could just be a meme, but it could be a hint that there was some type of collaboration. And speaking of Google's models, I don't know what model I was using. I was just doing regular Google searches and it turns into an AI chat. And I was watching Obsession the other day, and I pull it up, I'm just asking questions of, "Oh my god, dude, this was weird. Why did this actress do this?" And then it totally started talking about, it already knew I was watching Obsession. I was telling it I was watching Obsession. Here's the scene I'm on. And then it references some other actress from some other movie, and I was like, "That's not the actress. What the hell is going on?" And it was, "Oh, my bad. Yep, wrong thing." Mm-hmm. And I did something weird. I said, "Tell me the exact path that you took to get to that answer," and it told me all the tokens that it used, all the tags that it used, and how it ended up in some new show on Disney Plus instead of Obsession, the movie I was watching. And it's just, if this is Google AI, hopefully that'd be nice because they definitely need an update because their models do suck. But
they do suck really hard, really hard. Poor them, but yes, that's the reality.
Outside of being some type of collaboration between competing labs, which could also be the possibility, I think for my prediction, I'm going to say it's Elon and XAI. Mostly because he's got a motive that nobody else has. Anything he touches, everybody hates. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people hate Elon. They hate anything he touches. XAI, X, Tesla, SpaceX, Boring Company. They say it's evil, and they don't get it. He's the one guy whose logo cost him points before anybody else, before anybody's ever tested it, before it's ever even released. Half the developers who would actually love this model, they already have an opinion on it because he's involved. So that's reason number one. Anonymous for him is basically getting an honest review from people. Reason number two is I'm pretty sure last year they actually did this same thing when some random models showed up on OpenRouter, Sonoma Dusk, Sonoma Sky. They were free. They had a big context window at the time. Nobody knew who it was, and it turned out to be Grok 4 Fast. And it's the same story we're seeing now. So I wouldn't be super surprised to see that it actually is XAI stealth dropping and doing a blind model preview for something new that they're releasing. Because recently Grok was actually added to Amazon Bedrock. So that's actually a pretty big move. And just getting their foot in the door there, now they're going to drop a new model, get an honest preview, and then they're going to probably push it on there. Whoever it turns out to be, I think the blind launch is going to become more prevalent over the next year. It's going to stop being a stunt, because doing it like this, I think, is much better marketing than what OpenAI and Anthropic have been doing, where they're saying it's too dangerous, it's too good, it's too crazy. I think doing this type of blind model preview is a way better marketing strategy, because you can already see the internet's in a firestorm over it. And everybody's talking about how sick it is.
Yeah.
And then, in my opinion, if Elon comes out saying, "Hey, it's XAI, gotcha, bitch," like they're all going to be, "Oh no, I accidentally liked something Elon made."
No, I don't like it anymore.
Fuck, everything I said about it is lying. But I could see that being the case. I'm interested to see who it is. If it is Elon, if it is Google, and even if it's not, I'm sure we'll talk about this. We'll eat our words if we have to, or we'll come in and do a little dance and say, "I told you, I knew it."
One option that some people say that will be on the same line as yours is that some people believe that this can be a Composer 3 model from Cursor, where they use, because before for Composer 2 they use Kimi K2 or Kimi K something for the base. They were thinking that maybe this is the first time that actually the Cursor team and the XAI team, they are together, and what they did is they took GLM 5.3 and they pretty much fine-tuning, and they made a flash version of that model to be a Composer 3 type of thing, where you get both of the labs that now they are one pretty much, if you think about it, doing this new launch. If that's the case, that'll be pretty cool. I'll like that too. Especially because if you think about it, Cursor offer is becoming way better over time. The reality is I don't really care. I didn't really care for some time about their product, because Claude, Opus, Fable models were really good. Opus models are not good anymore. ChatGPT models are pretty amazing now. But at the same time, imagine if you get the 200 from Cursor and you eventually get a Grok 4 point something, or the 5, or the 5 version eventually when it launches, plus these flash versions and all that, they can really overtake Anthropic in a lot of ways if they keep going that. Yeah, this is exciting. But I don't know. My bet is still on Google, but we'll see.
I was basically in the same boat. I got Cursor when it came out. I used it for months. It was really sick. I was telling everybody, Cursor's awesome, Cursor's awesome. And then I started using Claude, just command line Claude, and I immediately uninstalled Cursor. But this past weekend, I reinstalled Cursor just because everyone's telling me about Cursor. I see everyone using Cursor. They've got auto balancing and this and that, which I'm still having good results using Claude, but sometimes I hit my weekly limit and I got to open up Cursor. I've been using it a bit more, and yeah, I'm going to keep testing it over the next couple of weeks and see, because I've said before, I've got no I'm not married to Claude. I've got no reason to use it if it's not the best thing out there.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump into news number 2. This one, we talk a lot about this business, but never from the software or LLM or model side. Okay, let's start. NVIDIA AVO completes the ARC AGI 3 public set. On August 21, AVO, which is an agent system around the Frontier model, it supplies persistent memory, supervisions, tools, and its own execution loop, pretty much. Using Cloud Opus 5, NVIDIA says that they completed all the 133 levels across the 25 environments in the ARC AGI 3 public set. And it earned 100,000? No. Yes, 100,000 relative human action efficiency score.
100.00.
And used
so 100%.
6,000. Oh yeah, yes, 100 points, yeah. And it used 6,624 environment actions. Sorry about that. I get confused. I'm now here in Europe, and they use points as it's freaking weird, man. It freaks me out so much. But
they use commas as period.
We'll talk about that later. Yes, yeah. It's literally confusing for my brain. I'm already
it earned a 100 score. Perfect score.
Yes, yeah, 100% exactly. NVIDIA report that this was about 12% fewer actions than Vista, which is another one they had, that Vista used in the same public levels. The attention-grabbing comparison is roughly 30% for a Cloud Opus 5 model baseline on 100% for the full AVO system. NVIDIA says that it's not a control comparison. The reasoning settings, memory, observation format, context management, and evaluation setup differ. The result does not cover the competition semi-private or private sets. The same AVO architecture also explored more than 500 GPU kernel directions and committed 40 versions. NVIDIA reported performance up to 10.5% better than Flash Attention 4 on DGX V200 systems. And this is such an interesting point, because I know we're going to sound we are always saying the same, which we are, but the main difference now is not models, it's literally harnesses. This is what it is. This is a harness. This is an agentic harness. There's nothing else. And it's one of those funny things that we're seeing the beginning where, for example, an Opus model can get way better results outside Cloud Code. Look, which is insane. It's your own model and it's your own harness, and still they perform worse. And this is not the first time. Okay, the Pi harness actually scored better than Cloud Code. It's already 2 of them, and it's really interesting that we can clearly see that the harness is doing all the heavy work. We are not getting a better model, and probably we don't need them anymore. That's the reality. As long as the harness is pretty decent, we can probably do great things. Being able to get way better results with just a different harness, it's amazing. Because we need to think in this way. Of course, probably this harness is highly optimized for ARC AGI 3, and it was able just to top everything. But think the other way around. And what if a harness was heavily optimized for a specific job that somebody does every day? I'm sure that harness that is only optimized for that specific job, I'm sure it's going to do great. And this is the beginning that we have been talking about for some time, that we are in the era of harnesses. Models, yes, they are getting smarter, but they are getting slowly. After the Fable 5 change, which was probably the fastest one, the reality is all this has been better just thanks to harnesses. And I hope we can see more of this. I hope we can see more open source harnesses from this business. Actually, not long ago, DeepSeek launched their own harness. open source. I hope we can get all these open source harness versions. We can compare and get the best that we can from all of them. But yeah, what do you think about it?
They got 100%. That's a perfect score. And that doesn't mean that harnesses are finished. Doesn't mean that models are the best they can ever be. It means that this benchmark has done its job, and now we've moved beyond it. Once something saturates the test can't tell you which system is better anymore, because they're all going to start getting perfect scores. And now it's time we need a better benchmarking system. But also, look who ran this experiment. NVIDIA didn't publish a benchmark. It published a demand forecast. The company just published a finding that says stop paying for the smartest model and start spending it on harnesses. Start spending it on the machinery. And you can get better machinery and use a cheaper model and get better results. And they proved it. And I think that's a more crucial finding than any new open weight model, any new model that comes from any frontier lab. We've been saying for over 10 weeks now, probably longer. This is the age of harnesses, and you need to start investing in harnesses, and that's how you're going to start surpassing your competitors and your colleagues, if that's something you want to do.
Especially your competitors. It's one of those things that I'm really excited to see the first like $1 billion business that is just a harness. That's literally just a harness, nothing else. And to be fair, this could be the case of the Hermes agent. But I know they are valuated really, really high, but I don't know if they hit already $1 billion valuation. But they have a full team. They are really, really good. But I feel eventually we will get one of these super minimal 3 to 5 people team that will build a harness good. That eventually is going to be a $1 billion business just because of that harness.
And you got to wonder who's going to acquire them. They're going to.
Oh, OpenAI for sure. OpenAI because I feel that Anthropic, they are too proud to accept that somebody else is doing something better than them, and they will just say no. What happened with OpenClaw?
Remember him.
What was the original name?
I know they banned the guy.
It was. Yeah, it was something related to the name of
Peter
Claude,
Steinberger.
I remember. And they put a lawsuit to change the name, and they ended up changing the name because of that. For sure it's going to be OpenAI.
Okay, story number 3. OpenAI slows frontier training over Astra cyber capability. Here we go. Same story we've heard before. It's just OpenAI doing it now. OpenAI said on August 18th that preliminary evidence suggested its unreleased Astra model may meet the critical cybersecurity capability threshold. Too dangerous. The company paused reinforcement learning training on its latest models for 2 weeks while it strengthened security, monitoring, and alignment work. OpenAI says its largest planned frontier reinforcement learning run remains on hold. Nobody else is on hold, though. Just keep in mind. Like everyone else is steaming forward at full speed. Some Astra training and evaluation workloads are still paused while they move into more isolated environments. Which it's crazy they don't even have these set up already. OpenAI now requires additional monitoring for Astra whenever the model uses tools. Its monitoring system impacts model activity, tool actions, and available reasoning for unauthorized access, data theft, destructive behavior, and attempts to defeat safeguards. OpenAI estimates that the monitoring uses roughly 20% of the inference computing being watched. The capability assessment is preliminary and comes from OpenAI. No public Astra benchmark or system card is available yet. So here we go. Yet another frontier lab says capability changed its training schedule, security design, and compute budget. I think that's... We talked about this, I don't know, was it the last episode or the one before, where the U.S. is saying we got to slow down. I think it was 2 episodes ago. Yeah. I don't see how this is supposed to be a winning strategy, especially if you're a near $1 trillion evaluated company. You got to have this stuff set up. You got to front load this stuff. You got to front load the security before you even start working on this stuff. And slowing down is just a recipe for disaster. The public has a take on OpenAI's capability claim on trust. We got to take them at their word, but transparency needs a later technical report with tests. Another group can inspect. This is all internal now, and it just reads Anthropic's of Fable. It's too dangerous. We can't release it. And now everyone's supposed to sit there, oh, I can't wait to use it. I can't wait to use it. But it's not even the case. Everyone's sitting around using Ox. This thing's sick. OpenAI is waiting. Okay, let them wait. I don't even care because I don't care. OpenAI, you don't want to release your stuff. You want to take your time, take your time. People are going to move on. Nobody's going to sit around waiting for you to release anything.
You want to know the funniest thing about this? A few weeks ago, like a week ago actually, probably, I think when launched a first version with no safeguards at all. Zero. Literally, if you ask the model how to build a nuclear bomb, it will take you step by step. Or napalm, or whatever you want to do, really. Don't care. And this tells you what the future is going to be about. We will have the American labs trying to be the motherly figure of, oh no, this is too dangerous, don't take risk, and all that. And then you will have the Chinese government being the father figure who will push you to do stupid stuff. Go and do stuff that you're not supposed to. And this is going to be a very interesting dynamic because in the beginning, a lot of Chinese labs were, oh, we take seriously safety in our models. And now they're, what? No, whatever. Here is a completely uncensored model. Do whatever you want with it. And it's, yeah, more of that, please. This is really what I want. But the reality is, I don't buy it from OpenAI. And we have been talking but a little bit about having our own benchmark. To this point, I'm thinking that the benchmark is going to be how many crimes a model is going to do. Because the reality, we're going to call it crime benchmark. Because this is literally how it's going to be now. Oh, my model commits more crimes than your model. Right?
If you think about it, if they're way, right, then they're already releasing a handicapped model. If you spend so much time trying to make your model worse before you release it, what's the point? Right? You should make your model as good and comprehensive and efficient as you can. And then here's the things we don't want it to do. We don't want it to help people commit abortions at home. We don't want it to create nuclear bombs. We don't want it to help you plan out assassinations. That's the type of stuff you don't want it to do. But it's I don't know. I think you're kneecapping yourself before you even hit production.
But I don't think you can do that safely without destroying capabilities. Because the reality is when people tell you, oh, this model has 280 experts, for example, okay? A lot of people imagine that this means, oh, an accountant and a developer. No, that's actually not how it works. When they talk about experts, it just means a bunch of matrices that they are together and they are related in some way. But a lot of times those are actually connected to other ones that probably make absolutely no sense, but it makes sense for the model. This is why a lot of the models, they actually have around eight experts active all the time, because they need to be able to access those other things to be able to work properly. In my thinking is that, okay, if we are undermining some of those experts to make it safe, we are undermining for sure how it works and the results that we can get. The reality is Fable 5, while a good model, a great model, is already a handicapped version of what it could do. And I hate this idea, because we are paying for these models. We want the best of the best. I swear to God, but if one day one of these models ended up making the best of the best, one of the Chinese models, way better than everything that Anthropic can do or that ChatGPT can do, I will happily change to a Chinese model, especially if they don't go through the process of handicapping their own models. The reality is it will probably do it better. And I know they keep saying, oh, but it's hard. Even the American governments, they put out some document about the Siemens, this business from Germany, I think, because they use a lot of hardware from them in pumps for water and stuff like that in the infrastructure of America. And they can get supposedly easily hacked and all that. But the reality is, it's not because these models are smart that they can do whatever we do, but better. No, the reality is pure probabilistics. It will try 1,000,000 times until one of them works. The only difference is they have more time than us. We need to eat, we need to to go to the bathroom, we need to take showers, right? Like, we need to do stuff that humans do. They don't. And the reality is, if you can launch 100 instances, 1,000 instances to do this, you will have like years of work in one day. That's the reason. It's not really because they are too smart, because they are not. Okay, they are not. We have said this a million times. It's not because they're too smart. It's because you can clone them and have 1,000, 2,000 instances at the same time, just trying to brute force whatever stuff they can and commit some crimes in the process. That's the real reason behind. But I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't buy this. Too dangerous. I say this before. This felt a marketing stunt. It still feels a marketing stunt to me. I don't care if they're going to try to tell me, no, we really need to take this seriously. Nah. This is just marketing.
Cool story.
Okay, let's go with number 4. This one is about research. Frontier models struggle to recover original research ideas. This is what happened. Researchers posted reconstruction on August 17, a blind benchmark for research idea recovery. Each model receives a paper pre-publication bibliography with identifying details removed. Okay, it must propose the central idea of the hidden paper without seeing the paper or later literature. The benchmark covers around 643 papers across 6 scientific domains. 7 frontier models achieve match rates of 3 to 15%, a multi-agent method that added cross-model review, and a Swiss-style tournament about 23 to 42%. A reported 2.4 times improvement over the best single model baseline. The work is on ArcZip. I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's a website. You can check it out.
I was worried about it when I was reading this story. You gotta stop coming up with such stupid names. I don't get it.
Yeah, I know this website. I have read a lot of papers there, but I just know how to say that name.
ArcZip.
I don't know. Whatever. It uses an independent LLM Josh to match generated ideas against the hidden paper, and the results have not completed peer review. This is not surprising to me at all. Because if we think about it, okay, LLMs are those things that when you talk to them, you think they make sense because you are ignorant in that field that you are asking questions. But the moment you know about that field was just pure bullcrap. In a lot of ways, I have asked a lot of engineering questions to the models, and a lot of times they just come back with pure bullcrap. Like just this word salad of nothing makes sense, and I literally need to shake the freaking model. What are you talking about? This makes no sense. And of course, you're absolutely
my fault. I thought I was talking to an idiot for a second. That's the thing. It'll list off a paragraph of things with all these words. You said word salad, and if you showed it to someone who's not an engineer, they'd read it and be like, I don't know, it sounds smart though. Wow.
Yeah, I call this Claude-anise. Is whatever Claude talks. This is Claude-anise. Like what it says, bullcrap. A lot of it. Literally, it makes no sense, but it sounds makes sense. And most of this is because they use those research papers to be part of the training. That doesn't mean it learned anything.
Exactly.
Okay, it didn't. It just can connect statistically some words that sound it makes sense because they were in a cluster of words that they were used to train. But it doesn't mean that it understands the concepts or anything really. I'm not surprised, of course, that they run one of Opus and Sol and all these models, and it was this is horrible. 3 to 15%. This is how much it lost. There's no meaning, but we know because of course you ask us as engineers and whatever. We ask about software, we know that, yeah, it's probably from 3% to 15%. The rest is just legal stuff, non-stop.
It's trying to reach the world of PSA.
And it make a yeah, you can literally remove most of the things and just to put down what it makes sense. This is interesting because we can see again the idea of the harness. Once we had a multi-agent method where you had cross-model reviews, instantly went up. Or how we call this jealousy-driven development, which is pretty much what it is. Hey, ChatGPT did a better job than you.
I'm going to do a better job right now.
Yes, that's literally what it is. That's literally what it is. You're comparing their outputs, though you are making them check mutually, and you pretty much take the ones that make more sense, or that the other models agree that is the best response in a lot of ways. But to be fair, I did not expect to go as high as 42%. I was expecting from 15 to 25, probably even 30 maybe, but 42% feels really high in my mind. This probably doesn't happen always. It's probably just in some cases. I imagine that most cases are probably around 23, really. But this is very interesting. I think this is signal 100%, because in a lot of ways we believe that this will be the future. We won't be stuck or married or just with one model forever. It's actually a horrible idea for you just to have one. And this proves our theory that the better models you have for specific situations, and you can leverage all of them to work together, you get way better results. This is the second case actually we're getting these type of results in the news. The first one was with this Japanese lab that we covered before, where they were able to get actually Fable level outputs with lower intelligence models just by combining them. They use ChatGPT 5.5 and I think Opus 4.6 or 7, and I think Gemini together, and the output was actually exactly as good as Fable 5. This is the same situation here. So yeah, that's my take on what you think about it.
It told us something we already know. Models, whether frontier, open weight, they can't come up with original ideas. And more importantly, it's hard for them to even process new ideas, because they're processing new data, new ideas based on their old training data. If they are, for example, going through these papers and they're just regurgitating back what seemed the most, what was the theme of the paper? It's basically them ingesting this data and returning the data provenance of the paper. This is what it seemed it was about, right? Which is okay, but it's not creating something new. And more importantly, it can't process anything new. And if we want to get to the point where it can actually aid in these research, it can start being on the forefront of research, it needs an entirely new underlying architecture. You can't get new results with transformer-based models. It literally can't happen. It's against the entire architecture. But that doesn't mean that these won't be useful for research, because as always, research is driven by humans. It's driven by experts. It's driven by people that have been doing it for years, and it's driven by processes that have been in place for, in some industries, hundreds of years. I'm happy to see it. I'm not surprised. I am surprised that it was able to get up to 42%. But I don't know. It seems a bit exaggerated. It's still far below passing, but it's higher than I would have expected. 3 to 15% is about what I would have expected. I'm happy to see it increasing, and I would to see this wing of the AI industry expand as much as possible.
Like, we had this conversation a little before that it's dumb how LLM works, and this is why we don't buy this whole it's too dangerous. Yeah, an LLM cannot understand the outputs of what it's doing, the context of what it's doing. When an LLM writes code, it doesn't understand what the code is doing, really. What is going to give you back that code? It's just a probabilistic machine. That's the reality. Yeah, the whole Transformers thing, it's dumb. I feel that LLMs eventually they're going to be a small part of AI, but it's not going to be this whole thing that they're trying to sell to us that, oh, it's everything. And even the solution that this French guy that was on Meta, I forgot, Lacoon, something that sounds French. His solution still sounds very dumb to me. And it's still better than the LLMs right now, which is that he believes that this new way of thinking should be that it can hold what is now having, but it can go one step ahead and one step in the back at the same time, pretty much increasing the amount of understanding of the model. And yeah, that sounds pretty cool, but that's still very limiting. Now, if we had to put this into perspective, how models work, imagine that you can think only 1 second in the future. That's literally the only thing that LLMs can do. 1 second in the future. You'll probably be hit by a bus if that will be the case, because you cannot really go through life that. But his solution is still really bad, because that means that now, I cannot go only thinking 1 second into the future. Now I can think 5 seconds, and I can remember 5 seconds in the past. And it's, yeah, that's pretty nice. That's still
400%,
not cool.
500%
How?
our
yeah,
podcast.
still
Our
yeah.
podcast went up 1,000% in listening viewership over the course of a week, and it's okay. It went from 1 to 6.
Yeah, exactly. It's not great in any way. The more you think about it, that we cannot arrive to general artificial intelligence (AGI) this way. It's impossible. If I can wake up, okay, and think about my whole day before it even happens, and plan my day in my head, and they starts doing the things that I need to do in my day, and because of that, I have context if it's going to end up being in the way that I want or it's not, and then adjust on the fly when it doesn't. That's not something that the LLMs do. Yeah, I don't know. This is weird, interesting,
Glad things are getting better.
but weird.
Let's kick up the pace.
hmm
Last story. I think it's yours. Or no, it's mine. Okay. Story number 5.
Yes.
DeepSeek harness makes Codex and Claude code installable components. That's awesome. What happened? DeepSeek released version 0.1.0-RC.8. Yeah, I
Deal
love
or
them.
with the names, huh?
That version of DeepSeek harness was released on August 19th. The pre-release adds image input to goal and plan commands, file and session references, concurrent web searches, and subagent reports that can wake a parent task. The sharper product move is that Claude Code and Codex subagents can now be installed as profile bundles. Codex supports non-interactive permission models in multiple named instances. DeepSeek is treating rival coding agents as components inside of its own execution system. The release is still a developer preview. It also changes the SQLite storage format incompatibility. This is actually a really good business idea, I think. Codex basically saying, hey, we've got our own models, but we're not going to continue to try to compete with competing models. Instead, we're going to try to win the harness race. You can use whatever model you want. Just make sure you're using Codex harness. And that's a more winning path than trying to compete with all the frontier research labs, all the open weight models, all the blind model previews. Just saying, here you go. Here's a harness. It works the way it already works, the way you want it to work. Use whatever model you want. I don't care. And that's great. The pre-release basically just means trial. It's not a full migration. The incompatible storage change is a direct warning that the product contract is still moving. I wouldn't get married to any of these plugins because they might not be around forever, as in regards to the SQLite storage format and everything. But because it's been a while, I haven't used Codex in so long. I've literally just been living in the terminal, using just the terminal. And I'm excited about the idea of getting back into an actual IDE style harness and using it again. What do you think?
I agree with a few things that you say, that you need to be careful about this, because Yeah, the DeepSeek harness is now open source. How much they can be there? Maybe they will go bankrupt. No idea, really. The good thing about being open source is that it means that you get the code and you can do the changes. But now you as a business, you're going to have the job of maintaining this thing. And if you are not a software business, this will suck. This will take a lot of the time from you, and you probably will think that it's not worth it. So yeah, it's complicated, and some people they prefer to use something, for example, because it's a great harness. It's open source. They are one of the bigger businesses now that they really manage pretty. They have all these models that you can use nonstop. Clearly, that will be probably a better use of your willpower and your time. But it's still pretty cool that we can see these harnesses being open source, open, and just, hey, you can use the model that you need to use our own model. That's something we agree is the main solution to a lot of these problems that we are seeing now. Because the last thing you want to be is close to one harness, one model forever. It's probably not a good idea. Because especially in a world where everything changes in a few weeks. Look, at the beginning, how many episodes ago you were comparing ChatGPT to an old friend who just to talk sometimes from time to time? Because yeah, they were irrelevant, but now with 5.6, they are pretty decent. Things change. Things change really fast. We better get used to that change process.
This also seems almost the industry standard, especially when it comes to harnesses. We've seen it in everything we've built at Valley Seed. Every harness we've built, all our internal tools, one of the first tenet of anything we build is it has to be model agnostic. Number one. And that's bringing in the ability for Codex to have Claude and OpenAI as basically plugins. that's the part no one's really saying out loud. They're both $1 trillion valuated research labs, and now they're just essentially plugins in a free harness. Right? It's weird when you think about it. You need an account, but they're free to have an account. And once you hit your limit, you just swap to another one.
They're really trying to attract people now. That's what they're doing. They're trying to attract users, even if that means losing money. But that sounds like a very dumb market strategy, if you ask me. Because if we had to guess who is the king of free products, that's Meta.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have WhatsApp, you have Instagram, you have Facebook. Yes, but why? Why is free? Because you are the product. Because you are the product. That's the biggest advertisement in the world, even bigger than Google. That's why it's free. That's the reality. But something Anthropic and OpenAI that is computing heavy, giving away some of these things for free. I don't know. It feels like a very bad strategy. That's giving you free gas for months and months non-stop. You eventually buy a car from them, and it's, yeah, I get it, but what if I don't?
Just take the gas, dude.
Yeah, exactly. That's insane. But okay. Let's jump into our second segment, ship it or skip it. This is where we get two product ideas from this week stories. We still man each idea, we push back a little bit, and then we make a verdict. Of course, that doesn't mean we are correct. Maybe you actually had a better idea than us, and we will be very happy to hear about them. You can always leave a comment on the episode, and we can discuss this whole thing, because all these ideas are interesting in a lot of ways.
Comment or email us.
Yeah, that works too. Let's go to idea number one, which is Agent System CI. Why are we talking about this? We're talking about this because of NVIDIA AVO system completed the Arc AGI 3 public set with Opus 5, while Opus 5 could not do the work with Cloud Code. And the results show how much the system around the model can make a huge difference. It's not a little bit, it's literally a huge difference. So Here's the pitch. You can build continuous testing for the whole agent system that you have. Every production failure becomes a repeatable test of the mother, the prompt, the memory, the toolpath, the permissions, how many retries it did, the stopping behavior and why it stopped, the time it took, and the cost. And a release passes only when the task finishes inside the agreed limits, which in this case it's time, money, all those type of things, of course, because we don't want to give free range to a model to do whatever they want. This is what I will say, that if you want to ship it. So let's stillman this, which is an agent can fail when the model gives a good answer, okay? For example, the wrong tool, a stale memory, missing permissions, or a bad stop rule can ruin the task. This is something that we learned very early with one of our first agentic for coding, which was Iteris. In the moment we were using actually files to keep track of the task that we were doing, and it works pretty nice. It's not bad. But once you have several instances running at the same time, it sucks, because you can have override of the same file, you can break the file. If the file breaks, a lot of times the agents try to delete it and just create a new one based on the other memory files that it has already. You can imagine that's complicated. Yeah, just take that into consideration. Another thing is teams need regression test when they change a model, prompt, tool, or harness. And why do we need the regression test? It's pretty much because you want to know if your new configuration is better or worse. This is the evals that we talked about before in a few episodes before, which we need to evaluate if the outputs that we're getting are actually better or worse. Even if it's by 5%, doesn't matter. The idea is if it's even 5% better, okay, this is the new floor, and we keep going. Thing. And the metric is concrete: successful task within a time and cost limit. That's literally the only thing that matters, pretty much. And one narrow workflow can provide useful starting points, such as support refunds or code migrations or stuff like that. Just please don't do what Bond did. They rewrote their entire code base in Rust, and I think it cost them $120,000 in tokens. Something insane like that. Don't do that. When we talk about code migrations, we talk about very specific small things. One serverless function, okay? That's the beauty of serverless, right? It's just one function. It's not that complicated. It's easy to touch. So yeah, I will say that skip it. This is our pushback. In this case, Langsmith, Braintrust, Evals, and other products already compete in agent evaluation. Some of them are pretty good. Langsmith, for example, we have used it, and it's pretty nice. But maybe those ones don't fit your own requirements, so you need to see in there. The other one is production tools, permissions, and data states can require more work than writing the test, and you will feel it. Another one is results may look stable in a test environment and still fail against live systems. This already happened to us, where we were testing a system with very specific data, and then a user with some old version of the data of something that we didn't even remember came to exist. Not came to exist, it was there. We completely forgot about that stale data that has been there for long, that it pretty much caused crashes and stuff like that, so just for consideration. And the last one is a general platform could become a service business with a dashboard attached. And we actually talked about this before, which is that, yeah, it sounds nice until you need to be the whole time just watching a dashboard to see if it's working or not properly, and then it will start to drain your time, and eventually it will just become actually worse for your business. That can be the case easily, and we don't want that. If I had to take a decision about it, I'll say Ship it, but one workflow at a time. Don't try to do everything. Don't try to, because it's very tempting, especially now that we think, oh, code is cheap. We can actually all of it. We can do so many things in a few weeks, and this massive thing is going to work. In the episode where we had Mike Lyons, we're talking about Agile. I say something, and I stand by but what I said, which is the most important skill in software development is going to know what not to build or when to stop building. And this is one of those cases. It's very important that you understand that one workflow fully working, tested, and actually giving you a solution, it's a million times better than 20 solutions that they do the job, but you are not sure if it's working properly. Okay? Yeah, that's my thinking there. What do you think, Matt?
I think this is the exact thing that AI has been building towards, especially for businesses, big or small. You said a couple things that I totally agree with. Regression tests always going to be important. It's easy to ship things fast, and and it's difficult to do end-to-end comprehensive tests. So it's important to have those in place before doing anything, because otherwise you're going to get in a situation where, hey, we ship this thing, it's awesome, it makes this process fast and easy, and then the next morning you're getting calls saying, hey, this other part totally broke because it was dependent on the thing you just changed, and when you optimized it, you got rid of everything that this relied on. Having a very robust regression testing suite, super important, more now than ever. One of the other things that came up was you said something, I'm trying to remember what it was, I meant to write it down, but having these cross-domain structures, it's difficult for those, especially when using agents. It can't have all the context in one place. And I was even thinking, originally software went from giant monolithic projects, and then over the past 10, 15 years, they started migrating them. That's what it was, the code migration, migrating them from monolithic structures to microservice-based architectures. And in doing that, basically those microservice-based architectures abstracted everything to the point where one agent runs somewhere, it's almost impossible for it to get all the context that it needs for these end-to-end workflows that are dependent on these microservice architectures, because it was all separated to make it easier for humans to work on. And now we're almost at the point where people are going to start wanting, it's hard to not want to do this, migrate everything back to a monolithic structure, just the agent has everything.
They are already. The reality is they are. There are businesses like Spotify and Shopify where they actually started migrating back into just these massive systems, because the
I think it's
reality
the
is
wrong
like
move.
keeping them working, it was easier than all these microservices and the million ways that they can work together.
Yeah, and it's it's different for every use case, but I would almost argue, especially for places that have dozens or even hundreds of different microservices already in place, already working, I'd say it's not the best strategy to re-migrate those back into a monolithic structure. It's, and you said, it's these agentic system CIs, these loops, it's the best use case. And I totally agree with you. You can't have one catch-all loop. I was going to make the case that it's best to have a ton of small, isolated, segregated loops. This loop is for this, and when this loop finishes, it triggers this loop. When this loop, it triggers this loop, and these two loops go independently, and that can be one big loop. It could be one big loop of multiple loops. It's a
Hmm.
loopception. But you said you can't, at the point that we're at in the industry, you can't spend weeks, you can't spend months on something and then hope to ship it at the end. You have to be shipping every week. You gotta be iteratively creating these things and building towards an end goal. But it's almost the point of agile is to deliver a working product. And I think that's still the goal today. You can deliver working products, but you need to have a roadmap where you say we're going to build this, build this, build this, build this, and you're building towards a final solution that's going to use everything. And even if you're at the point where you are building things with the intent to outdate those things, that's fine too, but you need to plan properly, and you need to fail gracefully. And you need to clean up these old processes gracefully, especially if they're intended to be short lived. Otherwise, you're going to have a tremendous graveyard of things that you don't use anymore. It's okay to build things and get rid of them and use what you learned from them, but you just don't want them hanging around. You're gonna have all these zombie loops just hanging around. But I do think this is. I'd even say this isn't even a new idea. This is the existing goal of what agentic-driven development was built for. It's just now people are finally starting to catch on, and they're actually starting to think more progressively on this type of thing. Ship it, 100%.
Think about systems instead of just one thing. Because they're thinking, oh, the agent. No. The agent's not enough. You need systems in place. You need engineering.
And even the thing with the dashboard, you said you don't want to sit there looking at a dashboard all day. I would never. If you're building a dashboard, build it in a way that it can send signals to agents. If your goal is to build something for a human to watch, you're already sinking. If your goal is to build something that looks good for a C-suite executive to pull up in a meeting, then that's fine. But the goal is never to have a human sitting there monitoring things. We're past that now. We have refrigerators, we have combustion engines, and now we have agentic systems. Cool. Idea 2, this one is a bit more abstract, and it's not going to make as much money. Maybe it will, but I don't think it will. But I think it's still an idea worth having. And here's the idea: R&D idea tournament. The source in Reconstruction preprint, the Reconstruction preprint tested whether models could recover research ideas from earlier literature. We talked about it earlier in the episode. Solo frontier models matched about 3 to 15%, where a multi-agent approach using cross-review and a tournament-style knockout reached 23 to 42%. The study uses an LLM judge and has not completed peer review, but you can see it's already had tremendous increase from the solo model approach. In plain English, now when a research team picks what to work on, somebody proposes an idea and the room votes on it. They decide if they don't get, and this runs that argument first with machines. You hand several AI models the same stack of prior research. Each one proposes what to investigate next. Then they attack each other's proposals. They debate. And the ones that can't survive get knocked out. Round by round, just March Madness or NHL tournament hockey or the FIFA World Cup. It's just a bracket style debate, but it's with agents debating research ideas. What reaches the human expert isn't an answer. It's the ideas that are still standing plus every objection made along the way in case a human would object with one of the objections. Normally that criticism doesn't show up until years and hundreds, potentially of thousands of dollars of researchers debating these ideas or even doing preliminary research rounds. This moves that to the front. It front loads that work, that the humans can just start working on something that's already been debated and agreed upon. One model asked and once landed on the idea about 1 time out of 10. The same models made to argue with each other got there closer to 1 in 3. It's a pretty big increase in accuracy. They tested it by hiding a paper that already exists and asking the models to guess what its idea was. That is a crossword with the answer in the back. Real research does not come with an answer key. That's why models suck at it. And recovering an idea somebody already had is not the same skill as having an idea no one has ever had, if that makes sense. But here's the pitch. You build a research workshop for R&D teams. Several agents propose the ideas. They all have access to the same evidence. They critique one another, and they advance the strongest candidates through the tournament to the end. Human experts see what is the surviving ideas, the reasons for the objections, and the evidence before choosing what to investigate. So again, it's both model agnostic and research area agnostic. If you were to build something like this, it would work for research teams in any industry, potentially. In that case, you would want to ship it when the study suggests that structured review can produce better candidates than just one model answering at a time. Research teams already spend time collecting and collaborating and challenging assumptions and deciding what deserves to even be researched or sent to trial. The product keeps a human expert at the final decision instead of pretending the system can conduct the research or decide on what should be researched alone. And it could start as a facilitated workshop for just one research domain and potentially scale from there. So this is basically, I think it would be a worthwhile tool if you already have contacts and people that are doing these types of research. You're part of a team, or you're leading teams, or you're part of some type of chair that has research teams beneath them or in collaboration with them. If you're finding yourself in an area where, hey, we've already spent X amount of dollars and the research trials haven't even started yet, they're still deciding. This could save you a lot of money. It could save you a lot of time. And that money and time could be allocated towards the actual research that you're hoping to do. Areas where you might want to skip this is if recovering a hidden historical paper is not the same as producing a valuable new idea. The reported improvement comes from a preprint that relies on an LLM judge. A tournament can select confident, familiar ideas instead of unusual ideas worth testing, because in some instances, those niche ideas are far more valuable to research than a more mainstream and widely accepted idea. And if general model tools may be enough for teams that already have a strong research leadership, if you already have AI implementation in your research and you're already finding good results, there's no reason to reinvent the wheel or totally change what you're doing if you're already on track to make good progress implementing AI. I think this could be a worthwhile standalone software, but as with anything, it's the hardest part is getting the clients and getting people to know that what you built is valuable to them. If you can find a research team, you can make their lives easier, you can document it, use it as a case study, and then you can go to another team and show them, hey, this already worked. And then you can start expanding from there. But if you don't know anyone who does research, or you're not involved in the research field at all, it's going to be a tough moat to cross, I think. But it might still be worth trying. I would say ship this. I think it's a good idea.
I agree. I was thinking probably this is the worst way to see it, but I think it's still a good idea. But we talked before about why models are dangerous, or why they are perceived as dangerous. And it's because they can iterate non-stop, and they can literally clone. You can start 1,000 instances and try to do work, brute force work, right? This can be one of those cases. When you think about it, there's a lot of things in research that they take a lot of time just because of how limiting it is for the researcher, the amount of time that they have, and they need to give classes and do a lot of other things. It's not just that. If you can build a workflow or a system that can brute force a lot of the combinations, that's the case with AlphaFold, the folding from AlphaFold from Google. This is what it does. It's literally just brute forcing through probabilities, and until it gets something that works. You can do something like that for whatever you're doing in your research, but it's going to be very specific to your niche. I don't think we are able actually to build something like this that is very wide use on everything that is research. I think that's impossible because everything is different. Every research is very specific to one case, and they do it in a very specific way that it will probably only make sense to build a very specific tool that is for that case and just let's say brute force through all the probabilities. That's probably what I imagine, but again, you say it correctly. This is something that we won't do because we're not researchers. We don't really know the market for something like that. But if you already are in this, for sure, I think it's worth it to ship it. So,
And
okay.
that's the area that I want to see expanded on. I want to see AI used to progress research. I want to see it used to find solutions for things which we talked about. It can't find original solutions, but it can increase the velocity at which these research labs are finding solutions. And that's what I would like to see.
Agree. Okay, let's jump into our last segment, which is unpopular opinions. Unpopular opinions, we take shots. A few of our peers I don't know if I can call peers people from Anthropic or OpenAI, but people who work in our industry and about ideas and all that. And we give our ideas what we think and why we think that way. Mine is pretty simple. I don't know if it's unpopular, but in a lot of ways, I know that people love to guess around. Mine is that anonymous model testing is actually way, way more honest than a benchmark after launch. And up until the provider asks you to send private code into a system that retains every prompt, Ox Alpha is a useful test and a terrible place for secrets. But let me explain, and I think you touched this point, Matt, is that we're biased. Whatever, for example, whatever Elon Musk launches, you will have always two teams. The pro Elon team, who is going to be, this is the best thing ever, and then the Elon haters, which are going to be, this is horrible, what he's doing with all these trillions of dollars, this sucks. You will always have that. In a lot of ways, doing this anonymous model testing give us a very good idea about the capabilities of these models on real products. Because, for example, Open Code is giving, it now includes Ox Alpha. There are people now using the model, and you will have the feedback there that, okay, this sucks, this is good, this is great, and we can see a few of the benchmarks and all that. But because we don't know who is behind, a lot of our own preconceived notions, they are left behind. And I say this even with my own preconceived notions, which is that Google model sucks. That's reality. I really think that Google model sucks, that they're really, really bad, and I have never had a good experience with them. But if I try this new model and I really like it, I'm going to get like regardless of it's a Google model or a Chinese model or an XAI model. I'm hoping to see this more from other businesses. I'm hoping that other businesses can do this, not openly, because of course the whole thing is not telling them who is doing that, but before every release, we can get an honest thinking about if this is worth it or not before we start creating these preconceived notions. Yeah, that's my popular opinion.
No, I think it makes sense. And like I said, I even said it. I think it'll be within a year. It'll probably be the standard. And I don't know that it's Elon. I don't know that it's XAI, but he's got more of a reason than anyone on the planet to do it anonymously for the exact reasons that you said. But yeah, hot take, but unpopular opinion. I agree with it. Here's mine, and mine's a bit more doomsdayer. And it's actually insane. The first real AI disaster won't come from a frontier lab. It'll come from a model with nobody's name on it. And there will be nobody to haul in front of Congress once it happens. For the exact reasons that Oscar was saying. It won't look some rogue AI. It's not going to be some plugin that gets hacked. It's going to be somebody releases a free model, everybody starts using it, and within a couple weeks, something horrible happens. And you can see that this week. This week's two biggest stories are OpenAI pauses trainings on its best model because it's too dangerous. And a public, free, anonymous model was released on open code, and thousands of people immediately started pasting proprietary code into it. It's right there. There you go. This recipe there. It's. I don't think anything dangerous will come from OpenAI or Anthropic or even DeepSeek for that matter, because they have a name attached to it. They have CEOs attached to it. They have people who have a lot to lose. They have a legal pathway to sue them if something did go wrong. These free model, and I'm still a huge proponent for open weight models. Still will, always will be, but I'm still honest at the same time, where if something horrible happens, it'll be one of these free open weight, anybody can use it model. And yeah, it's not the anonymous provider that you can't sue them, you can't arrest them, nobody knows who they are. And even this Ox what's it called? Ox
Ox
Alpha.
Alpha. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody knows who it is. Allegedly, nobody knows who it is. Everyone's trying to figure it out. Everyone's putting on their Sherlock Holmes hat and trying to see who they think it might be. But what if one day, I don't know, 16 months from now, a new model comes out? Everyone's saying, "Wow, it's cool. It's got a 2 trillion context window. It's awesome." And then a week later, just the internet goes down. Well, what do you do at that point? And I could see that happening. I just, my hot take is, if something bad regarding AI happens, it's not going to be OpenAI, it's not going to be Anthropic, it's not going to be Fable, it's going to be an anonymous, a model posted by some anonymous source.
Skynet is going to be an anonymous model.
Yeah.
I can imagine the robots taking the power and Skynet being born finally.
Cool. That was it. Unless you got anything, else you want to add? Episode
No.
20. We're
Yeah.
20% towards our goal of 100 episodes. We're not going to stop at 100, but
Yeah, of course. But
we'll be
damn,
there.
20 episodes already. Non-stop 20 weeks.
And we actually we just started posting our catalog on Apple Podcasts. I think we started posting it a week or two ago. We back posted everything. It's got everything up until episode 19 as of now. And within a week, we hit 100 listens or downloads. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, more and more people will start listening. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell whoever. Hopefully, we've helped you have some good takes on AI. Get involved in some conversations. And if you have, we'd love to hear about things that you've learned or things that you've said or even topics you want us to cover.
And hey, we know sometimes we're going to be wrong. Okay? Don't expect us to be all the time. Please use your common sense.
Yeah.
That's our whole thing here at Human in the Loop. We share what we think, but we don't want any of you, to take this as absolute truth. Because, I mean, we need common sense to be able to use all these AI tools. Hope that to give you some context.
I had somebody asking me, I think it was a week or so ago, somebody was like, "Hey, your buddy Oscar, he said that guy got divorced because he was working too much on AI." And I was, yeah, he doesn't know that. You remember he said that one guy was posting on Twitter saying how much he was working, and then a month later.
Yeah, it was about Gary Tan, the president of Y Combinator. Yes.
Yeah, someone was like, Oscar talks to that guy, and I was like, no, he's just like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that I literally opened this, let's say, my conspiracy theory about this. My Alex Jones hat. It makes sense. It makes sense. He literally started posting about how he hasn't slept in a week because of doing all these things with AI. Literally AI psychosis. And literally 2 months after that, he shared that he's divorcing, and I'm like, yeah. That's what happened, brother. Go touch some grass.
But yeah, thanks for watching. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to continue steaming along. Episode 20. Many more to go. I'm Matt Wozniak. Thanks for tuning in.
Oscar Gallo. See you later. That's the pod. Okay.